Our next speaker is going to talk to us about how to collect objective information. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Carmen Alonso to the stage, who will talk to us about how we can evaluate the respiratory condition of growing pigs in a very objective way that removes any of our bias or any of our opinions. Please give a hand to Dr. Alonso.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Isn't the microphone working well? Yeah? Well, let me pass the slide. Yeah. So I feel very rested today after all this long walk and just perfectly dressed. It was a very easy way to visit pigs. I wish we would have more videos like this when we when we are hearing from producer cases. But it's not the case, right? Sometimes we just get a call. Sometimes we get the call too late. Sometimes we get the call even when there's nothing going on. Like it's just so much variability there. Anyway, we could talk about technology now that we have for you, very unique and very excited. A very objective way to monitor respiratory health and to advance on these decisions when something is going on. So we know that that the cough in the growing population, based on the question that Clayton just asked, so what's going on? We know that the cough in the growing population is very important to understand, but we need to know more. We need to know more when it's really happening, in which batches really had started, what is in a specific room that we're having respiratory clinical signs more than others. When was really the beginning? What's cough? What's respiratory issues? Like it is too much? It's just a little bit? What kind of cough? Etc. Right? So for us, there's not enough to just to say, are the pigs coughing? We need to learn. We need to know more. We need to get more information from these clinical signs. So there is a lot that we can get. And me, as I've been a practitioner, like many of you, that's something that we will always wanted to have more information from the case, just to start on the investigation. And we know that this is very subjective, as Clayton was mentioning, because there's a lot of information that comes with us when we're visiting a production site. It relies on our base experience in the moment that you're visiting the client and the relationship that you have with the client. Many things that will lead us to emit a judgment when you're visiting a farm, right? So we know that that could always delay our interventions with the case, with the client. Even if it's just an acute problem that is happening in the barn, the producer just called you just to give them an assessment, or if it's something that you know that is happening, going on, and you need to really emit a judgment. So we have done some research on that, and we have provided some videos to different types of people involved in the swine industry. And this is a paper that he has just published this year at the Lehman conference back in September, where we have provided them, the authors provided them with some videos similar to the ones that Clayton just showed, and they were asking them, okay, give us your range of prevalence of respiratory diseases, and we have shown them videos on nursery, meat finishing, and hog, the pointer, and hog, and the late finishing, and we see so much variability on the judgment. Is it a lot of prevalence or low prevalence? So there's a lot of noise, as we say, when we emit the judgments. The same for when we evaluate different people involved, in this case, caregivers and managers. We see that caregivers, they tend to provide more kind of like mild to more moderate. Managers are more regular in their judgment. There's more variability within caregivers, and we know that. We know that we have different ranges of workers in our facilities, and they can provide us with different judgments. And that always, what it has, it just give us noise in the assessment of a clinical case what it requires from you is being very objective, right? So very important, this subjective judgment as idea, since we are clinicians. And it happens in all fields. It happens in human medical fields as well. One doctor could tell you one assessment, and you go to the next one, you see some variability there, but that's normal. So now we have technology. There is a need for technology. There is a need for objective measurements to help us monitoring that large amount of animals that we are taking care of. Because the industry is consolidating, we're getting to cover more animals. I was a production veterinarian of a large production company in Spain, and I was taking care of as many animals as I was not able even to look on a monthly basis. So there is a need for technology, and it is something that it will help us to drive a solution based on data. So this solution is called SoundTalks, and I'm very excited to bring this technology to you. I see users of SoundTalks within the room, so we are excited. This was launched here in Japan already, not in all Asian countries, but absolutely in Japan. And this is a technology that is allowing us to monitor with the sound the respiratory clinical signs of the pigs and to emit objective data to guide our decisions. Let me show you. So how it works. For SoundTalks, we have the monitors installed in the animal space. Those monitors that are covering 20 meters diameter of the animal space. We're covering the sound of these animals. And whenever there is some clinical signs, the monitors get to collect that data. They transform that data into a metric that is called respiratory health status metric. And here, let me show you, this is the graph. This is the metric that it goes from 0 to 100. So this sound data gets transformed by a mathematical algorithm into a metric that is called res. And the res just shows the producer if everything goes well, res is high, it's between 100 and 60, it's in the green band. And the monitors will show that in a specific barn like this one, where we have a lot of pens, or everything is green, that means that there is not high values of respiratory clinical signs. So we are into the green zone. Whenever there is more respiratory problems, then the graph starts to go down, the rest decreases, and the monitors turn into yellow. And whenever there is more problems, then the graph even touches the red. That means that the respiratory clinical signs are severe. We have red monitors in the barn, and there is a need for an action, of course. So every time there is a change of colors, the producer will see which area the clinical signs are getting worse, and they need to take an action. So very, very important, it's very obvious for the producer when nothing is happening that the monitors are green. Whenever there's a lot of clinical signs, very obvious for the producer, and they see that the monitors turn red. But very unique for SoundTalks is this yellow band. It's really advancing the producer to take an action earlier whenever the problems are just starting. And it's not even obvious for our human ear, because it is based on 24/7 monitoring, every minute, every second of the barn, and all locations. So it's able to really tell the producer, what's the trend on that curve, really? Is it going down? Are we being steady? Are we taking an action and the curve is really improving, right? So it's not only that it's measuring clinical signs, it's also really putting a lot of emphasis on measuring the effectiveness of every intervention that we put. In this case, if the producer took an intervention in this point, we are able to measure right away, is it effective or not? Am I changing my clinical signs in a very objective way? So it monitors clinical signs, but it really puts a lot of emphasis on the effectiveness of the interventions, right? Are they working? Or whatever I add here is not really changing the course of the clinical signs. So what is helping us is monitoring respiratory health within a single airspace. Imagine this is just one room, and this is the curve that the SoundTalks shows. This is a finishing curve where we have perhaps some problems at the beginning, some very clear patterns of other outbreaks, and then the animals recover. This is a finishing curve. So this is at a room level, so just one single airspace. We can visualize SoundTalks at a farm level. Imagine these are pigs coming from the same origin. They get to enter all these rooms at the same time, and we're able to see those curves similar way, right? A similar patterns. Those animals coming from the same sow farm follow the same patterns. Sometimes we get surprised and we see room effects. We see rooms that over and over show more clinical signs than others. Could be ventilation issues, could be orientation of those rooms, etc. So we will see more rooms effect, but this is when we visualize sound talks at a farm level. But another way that we're really getting a lot of impact from producers, and we're going to go to the clinical case that Clayton just showed us, is when we see sound talks at a system level. And in this case, we have all these farms, and then some of them are filled with one origin, others are filled with another origin. We can compare between flows. We can see, okay, what's this sow farm flow of animals behaving compared to this other one? And we're going to show you that example in a minute. Let's come back to the clinical case. This is, imagine, let's just go into our imagination right now. All pigs that Clayton sow farm is producing, we're able to monitor them all with sound talks. And we're going to walk you through how this report is produced with our tool. So here we have the overall respiratory clinical signs, and we see that this is our rest curve. This is longitudinal data in this case. We have 1 year of data with sound talks, and what we have here is the average rest of all those monitors on all the facilities that all these pigs are going to. So here we have 50 batches, nurseries and finisher batches. Here we have all the production sites where they go. From one sow farm, we'll go to production site A, B, C, etc. We get to fill them all one after each other. We can filter the information in weeks on feet, right? Here we have the 26 weeks of production, and of course, month and year. But as an overall, this is what respiratory clinical signs are doing in this farm that Clayton was just showing. Over time, the production side is producing animals that are giving more and more problems with regards to respiratory clinical signs. So overall, average, not bad. We've been worse. We've seen worse. There's a maximum of rest and a minimum of rest, but the trend, I don't like the trend. It's getting worse, and it's really started here at the beginning of 2022. We can also visualize the data by age, and as Clayton was saying, the pigs in nursery, when I watch the videos, I don't know what the judgment. They look beautiful to me. They look beautiful, round, clear, nice hair, beautiful facilities. That's not, I cannot make a judgment there. But when I look at my sound talks, then I can say right away, pigs in nursery, they're doing good. They have good clinical signs as an average. I see a bit of variability, but nothing to concern. And this is because I'm filtering my data. Give me just the first 4 weeks of age. Show me from all the batches that I'm producing for the last year, just show me the early ages, right? So, no problems there. When I go into my middle period and finisher, my rest average goes down. Here is when I go to see more. My average is in the higher yellow band, but that means that I have a lot of problems that I really risk, really pushing my average down. I have more problems that I've seen in the early ages, in the younger piglets. So we see a rest that is really, the pointer is dying. Mm-hmm. So it is showing that it's been quite stable always in that area, but lately I'm seeing more problems. So I will be very concerned here, and this is a trend that you have been able to detect right away in December of 2022. Anyways, we keep filtering. Now we're moving into the latest stage. I want to see only pigs bigger than 22 weeks of age at the latest stage of the finisher, and I see that this is severe problems in respiratory health. I will consider that. We just saw one video from one side, one production site, but when you have a sow farm, you need to see what's the overall, where are all the farms that are being filled with piglets from the same sow farm. Anyways, I'm not only able to look at that. In my imaginary clinical case, I see that I want to visit the GDUs. I want to know the gills that are populating that sow farm, how are they behaving? So I have SoundTalks in the GDUs. I want to see how those beautiful gills are doing. And overall, I see a good respiratory health, but I see a bit of a trend. I see that we're not getting better, for sure. There's some trend. There's the respiratory health. We went through some big, maybe 3 major dips in the rest that is pulling my average down. And I would like to review how are this acclimatization process happening, where is the origin of those gills that I'm receiving. I would like to investigate that as well, because I see that my respiratory clinical signs are not stable or not getting better in those gills. Another way to show data, and that's very important because we need to take very, very objective decision, is in this case, here we have weeks on feed, and every column is a week average rest value. And we have all the batches monitor of this production site on this sow farm, going to all my production sites, and here we have the weeks of age, right? And we see just right away by the colors that at the beginning of my period where I was looking at this data, the respiratory health was quite good, but I see that the yellows are really taking over the mid-period, and of course, the finishing periods are just getting more and more red over time. So we see that the respiratory health is decreasing. It's another way to look at the data by weeks on feed. And of course, I'm really alarmed in this period where the last 6 or 7 batches, where I see that my yellow problems are even starting earlier on my mid-period, and this red trend is just increasing and increasing. Of course, we have batches that nothing happened, but my overall trend is a bit worrying. Let's just wrap up. SoundTalks is the first artificial intelligence tool that is help us to monitor large quantities of animals and to help producers to control and to take decisions sooner to improve respiratory health in their systems. So we are helping with SoundTalks to early detect and early diagnose, jump in right away and took the samples wherever you know that something is starting. Visualize the overall pig population respiratory health status. We're seeing patterns with specific pathogens. We're seeing trends with specific management practice. So we're able to identify that. So we're sooner there taking actions. Very important, what's the role of the sow farm? Where are the management practice in different sow farms that we are now able to compare? We have an objective metric that helps you to compare for the first time. And of course, not only that we can act sooner with an action and take an action sooner, that we're able to measure the effectiveness of our interventions. Are we changing management now in the sow farm? What's the impact in my entire flow? I'm able to measure that now with SoundTalks at a room level, at a system level. So just listen to your farm, look at your data of the clinical size on your farm, and take an action now. Thank you.